Well, hello. This has been a while. I've been talking about doing some art videos for weeks and it hasn't happened because I've been trying to work it all out, trying to get my technology to keep up with me. But I wanted to start with the first step in working from home as an artist, creative. Especially during this time, because it's kind of difficult to get stuff because we can only really go out for essentials, so we kind of have to do with what we have. And I just wanted to let you know that you don't really need a lot to do anything really, but I'm going to show you what you do need. Okay, so I'm going to cut and change the camera angle. So basically the biggest thing in my opinion is that you need something to protect your table, because the thing about art is it gets messy. It's an interaction with the outside world and it gets messy and it can wreck stuff. So I just use cardboard or plastic, or newspaper doesn't tend to work because it's a bit thin and you can easily go through it. So yeah, the first things first, you need to protect your work surface. Also, you need to grab a jar and make it yours for water, because I tend to use a lot of water in art. This jar is definitely a dedicated art jar. Now, I've only shown you on here one brush, because I promise you, you can do a lot with just one brush. You don't need 15,000 brushes in order to do something. In fact, I don't have any of my brushes that I normally work with, because before the lockdown I was working on a project and they are still on that project and they're still in the building of that project and I can't get them, and I don't want to put the people in danger going into the school, and I don't want to put my family in danger by going to the school, so they kind of have to stay there. So I can do a lot with just one brush. I am a fan of square brushes. I use them for almost everything because they work really well with acrylic, oil. They do work well with watercolours, but to be fair, with watercolours you are better off with a chisel tip, which is the thin ones that go more like that shape. So, but you can do a lot with just one. So if you have one in your house, you can do a lot. If you have watercolours, old watercolour sets, they're really useful. This set is old. As you can see, the white is pretty much finished. I think we've had this in our house in our family, because I've not always lived in this house, but we've had it in our family for about 6-7 years. So it's not exactly a spring chicken, even though we're in spring. Oh, I love a good pun. It's still a good palette and it still has a lot of life in it. Pencils, essentials. These are just normal HB pencils. There's nothing special about them. In America you call them number 2 pencils. They are just normal pencils. There's nothing, you don't need to have special graphics pencils. You really don't, not to get started. You don't, or to even go further, to do what we need to do, you don't need expensive pencils. These are my pens. I've collected them over the years, and as they wear out, they get thrown out. I would love one of those big sets that I used to get when I was at Christmas when I was little, but you know, it doesn't matter. You can just have some pens to get going. I do have a box of Sharpies, a bag. Yeah, this is my little indulgence. I have an entire thing of Sharpies in there, and they are scrumptious. So I have a little indulgence. So I'm not just somebody who just grabs stuff. I also do have a few things that I love. I also have a rubber, and guess what? It's a giant rubber that says for big mistakes, but it also means we don't lose it, because I don't know about you, in our house we constantly lose the rubber. Americans, I know you call that an eraser. Forgive me, we are dealing with languages. Colouring pencils. Again, I wanted to let you know that you don't need to have the world's most perfect colouring pencils. So for us, we have just the normal sets. So here we have all these different, they're just a collection of different ones. And what it means is then we can grab some different bits from different sets. Again, I would love to have the world's most perfect, longest colouring pencils, but I don't. I also have the stubs here. We have all the little colouring pencil stubs collected over the years, and they've all been sharpened down. So we do have the opportunity of having lots of different colours, but it's not perfect. It is what it is. We do with what we've got. What I was taking out of my bag there was a little stapler. It's cute. It's just a cute thing. If you do have something like this, these are oil pastels. They're just Crayola oil pastels. They're not expensive ones. They're just still kept beautifully in their box. I am quite pedantic about keeping things nice. So if you see, they still have the paper. Again, these are, I think, the same age as these. These are about 6 years old. I'm pedantic. Oil pastels like to lie down and keep their coats on. We don't take the papers off. They like to keep their papers on, and they like to lie down. Now, there's one thing that I know children of all ages love to do. They love to stand their oil pastels up like that. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm putting it right there. Don't do that, because they fall over and they crack on the inside, and then it kind of ruins them. So just lie them down. And when you finished with them, put them straight back in the box, because if they roll off the table, they crack on the floor, and it's just not good for them. I could show you soft pastels, but to be honest, you've got to use what you've got to use. Good old glue stick, bit of masking tape if you have some. And to be fair, with that and some paper, see what I mean? Things just drop on the floor. With that and maybe some scissors, some paper, you can get going. So I'm going to cut back up again, hang on. So with all of that together, if you see the few bits I have, it's kind of like grabbing it from everywhere and just putting it together, and that means you can start. So I don't have, even though I create a lot, I don't have a dedicated art corner. I don't have a dedicated table. I tend to keep my stuff in a shopping bag. So I put everything I need for a project into a box or a bag, and it gets taken around wherever I need it, and then it gets put back in the cupboards. Because to be fair, I would love to have like a perfect little studio, but I don't live in that kind of world. I live in a world where we have to just make do with what we have. So just grab your stuff, but make sure that when you finish, clean it up. Get your brushes. Now brushes love to be clean and dry. They love it. See that? It's nice and happy because it's clean and dry. And when you put it in a pot, don't put it down there to store it. Store it that way up, because over time it might not look as if there's a lot of pressure on there, but there is pressure, and it just waggles and wiggles and it bends the ends of your brushes, and that's not what they like. And you want to be able to get that idea and go get your stuff and just start. You don't want to be going, oh, my brush is all broken. You want to be going, my brush is ready. And that's what you want. You want to be able to go, I have an idea. I'm going to catch that idea and I'm going to go for it. And my stuff is ready. You don't want to be going, oh man, I've still got to clean this palette and I haven't cleaned it and it's skanky and I have to scrape it. You just want to be able to go clean palette, clean brushes, sharpen pencils. Do you know what you can do when you're bored? Sharpen your pencils, because there is nothing better than doing this. Watch this. This is like one of those beautiful moments. Sharpened pencils. It's a lovely moment. Enjoy it. So that's what you do. Sharpen your pencils. Again, if you're bored, go through all your pens and check. See, is it still working or is it dried up? If it's dried up, say goodbye. Say goodbye. There are recycling people who will recycle pens. There are other crafts that you can do with dud pens, or you can just flat out just throw them in the recycling bin, or get rid of them responsibly. I mean, you don't take my word for it, but you can throw them. There are things you can do with them. You don't need to hang on to pens that don't work anymore. So just keep your stuff nice and make sure you take care of your tables. And when you're drying your work, dry your work responsibly. Ooh, and put some paper underneath it while you put your work on top so that you don't trash your work or the surface. But we'll go through that. So I hope that helped a little bit. Okay, much love. Bye bye.